Hey there, and welcome back to lesson 2 of May, where we are replacing chaos with calm and, most importantly, focus. That's really the name of the game. Like, we're not focusing on chaos to draw more chaos, right? Because what we focus on, we get more of. Rather, we are focusing on chaos so that we can break it down and understand how to quiet the chaos and hopefully alchemize it into focus. Okay, because that's really what we want. That's what we need. We need to get in the present moment. And chaos really is think of it as just an attention getter, right? It's just like some annoying thing over in the corner doing jumping jacks, trying to get your attention. Okay, whether it is show drama or your own dog's drama or whatever else, I want you to really reframe it as this thing that is literally just trying to do jumping jacks in the corner, being a weirdo, and just has no other purpose than to steal your attention. Okay? Now, saying no other purpose is a bit of a stretch, but you get what I'm saying, because sometimes chaos does inform us, right? Again, if we reframe it, we can reframe it as feedback. Like, why is this in my world right now, right? Whether my dog is being chaotic, whether the trial chair is being chaotic, whether someone in your life or work or whatever is being chaotic, there are moments where we can look at it, pause, kind of stand back and look at it with like some discernment and say, like, is this message for me or is this moment about them? Because here's the great spoiler alert of life. Maybe not how about one of the great spoiler alerts of life. Not everything is about you. Not everything is about me. Not everything is about us. Not everything happens because it's about us or that we have something to take out of it. For instance, you're at a grocery store. Some chaos ensues. You happen to be there. You're thinking to yourself, like, why is this my life? Why do all these chaotic things happen? But maybe it's not about you. Maybe it's about the other person that's involved, right? Maybe it's about their moment and what they're getting out of it or what's happening in their day. And you just happen to be there as another part of their like sort of 3D experience. Okay. So I always really try to think of this because sometimes, especially when things hit out of the blue or they have seemingly nothing to do with me, but they're happening in front of me, I kind of step back and try to look at it like a movie and ask myself, like, is this for me? Like, am I supposed to take something out of it? Am I supposed to give it my attention? Am I supposed to look at the weirdo doing the jumping jacks, right, for no apparent reason? Or maybe this is about them and I have nothing to do with it. Okay. So that has a little bit to do with today's lesson. But mostly I just wanted to say that because I just think that so too often we see events happen near us, around us, at the trial we're at, in our environment, maybe even close up and personal. And we think we have to do something about it. And just entertain the fact that that might not be true. Maybe that is for the other person to learn something from, not necessarily you to learn something from. Okay? But if it is you, then ask yourself, again, back up a step mentally, maybe physically, and ask yourself, is this moment for me? Do I have to give it my attention? Is this something I need to participate in? Or I can just notice it and let it go by instead of giving it my full attention. Okay? Because at the end of the day, you go to a trial to get some shit done, right? You're going to a trial to run your dog, maybe to put yourself in a competitive environment, to work your skills, to see like how far have I come? Are my dog and I performing in this situation? Like, what can I learn from it? Like, where am I? And when we show up, it's kind of interesting because when we show up at a trial, it's all about me, right? Or you. Okay. But we're thinking from this and I think it's correct, by the way, we're thinking from this very self-centered, not selfish necessarily, but a self-centered viewpoint of like I know I do it. I'll just personalize it. What my goals are, what I want to get out of today, like how I've set up my process goals, what my theme for the weekend is, right? And very instantly, maybe even in the parking lot, on the way in from the from the parking lot to the bathroom, maybe even. We cross paths with other people. Someone might be like, oh my God, I can't believe you're here. There's this story, and all of a sudden, all of these outside things come inward. We can just take them and let them go, or we can take them and give them our full attention and our energy, and that's when they become distractions. Okay? So chaos can be chaos. It can just be swirling over there in the corner, doing its own little thing, doing its little weird jumping jacks, but it's not a distraction to us unless we give it our attention, unless we take that precious amount of focus that we have and give it away to these other things that may really not matter in the moment and certainly are not part of our initial plan, when we woke up this morning or planned out, for the weekend trial ahead. Okay. So just really have a think about that and really make sure that you are kind of reframing the things that distract you. I hope that last week you all got the quiz. I put it both in the Facebook group, and then it's also in the lessons in the first lesson if you're doing them, which I hope you are using the app or online on your computer. And you can download that. If you were not able to download it or didn't see it or missed it for any reason, just email me. I'll email it straight to you. It's just a little PDF that sort of tells you kind of where your distractions are. So that should have gone really well with the first lesson, just about building that awareness about your distractions. Okay. So this week we're going to talk about rituals. And I'm laughing as I say it because we talk a lot about rituals. And I was thinking as I was preparing this lesson, I was like, oh my God, is this too many rituals? They're going to hate me for rituals. But here's the thing. Our rituals constantly need us to pay attention to them because we get lazy about them, myself included. I was thinking as I was doing agility the other weekend, it'd been a while since I'd done agility and my rituals were really dusty and rusty, and I really didn't have good rituals for my young dog, and they really need a refresh once in a while, right? So what I'm going to do today, hopefully, is add a little bit of ritual to your rituals, add another little habit that is just about eliminating those distractions or quieting them or setting them aside, however you want to think about that. And then so that we can focus. So again, we're trying to build a focus muscle this month. We're trying to be able to say, I see the distraction. I have a choice in this moment, whether to notice it and let it go or give it my attention and my energy and my focus. If I notice it and let it go, then I am able to then refocus on the task at hand, which, likely is getting my dog to the ring. Okay. So when we talk about rituals, we, are building those rituals that for me start when I wake up in the morning all the way till I get the dog into the ring, right? If you're doing kind of a crate to gate, which I love as well, because also I love that it rhymes, that's great too. And just figure out how you want to incorporate some of this. You already have a routine, okay? Whether by accident or very consciously created. I would say that mine is a mix of both, but over the years, I would say that most of it is consciously created and then it becomes a habit, which of course is the best. But remember, when it becomes a habit, also, what do we do with our habits? Sometimes we slack, or sometimes we cut corners, or sometimes we skip steps because we're just kind of going through the motions and we're not being as conscious about all the little steps. So we want to make sure that this is an opportunity always to tighten up your ritual. But we want our ritual to really be like our mental on switch. Okay. And if you go back, if you listen to every word I ever said about rituals, I am very consistent in the fact that a ritual we want it to be predictable and we want it to be the same for two big reasons and probably a whole bunch of little reasons. But the two biggest reasons are predictability and getting grounded or being able to turn on this mental switch. Okay. Now, the reason it works is when we are predictable, when we do predictable things, habitual things, it allows our mind, so if the things that we have energy to think about are a pie chart in a day, right? And we only have so much space to think, okay? What we're doing is we're taking out a bunch of things that we don't have to think about, right? If I lay out my clothes the night before, I don't have to think about that in the morning. That is one less decision I have to make in my day, right? Decision fatigue is like a real thing, right? If I check Google Maps before I leave my house, at night, and kind of know the general route, or I know where the Starbucks is on the way, or whatever it is that I'm going to do, again, another decision I can take off the list. If the car is loaded, the treats are there, the bag is by the door, the dog bag has my car keys in it, or maybe it's my car keys and the bag are in the fridge so I can't forget anything, or whatever my rituals are. Again, even before I leave the house, those are several decisions I don't have to make. So it's not only reducing the number of decisions we have to make, which of course free up our brain to think about all the things that are going to be variable in our day. We don't know the course. We don't know how the judge is going to be, or we don't know maybe the environment. Maybe it's a new place we're going. There's all these other things. We get to focus then on those other things instead of, think about it as wasting brain units on choosing your socks. Okay? Small thing, but it still takes up a unit of brain power, okay, if you kind of dumb it down that way. The other part of predictable is we like predictability. We like routine. We like that because what it tells our brains is we know what's next. We know what's coming. No surprises here. No surprises. No surprises. Smooth sailing. And we know our dogs love routine just by the way they pick up on our habits, or like I know that when my voice changes as I'm hanging up with a client, my dogs all stand up. They stand up and look at me. And it killed them the other day. I had 3 calls back to back. They didn't know what to do because they thought I was done and I was going to stand up and interact with them. And they're like, oh my God, there she goes again, right? So they like to know what's happening. And if we can establish these rituals, these routines, these habits, then we also indicate to our dogs what's going to be next. And they love the predictability, right? They don't want to guess through the day. Again, we see it as stress in our dogs sometimes, and really it's decision fatigue, right? They're like, what's going to happen now? What's going to happen now? What's going to happen now? Is she leaving for the day, or is she just leaving for an hour? Or is she just going to be outside? Our dogs are kind of more honest about it than we are, okay? So that predictability is major. But the other thing that having a really good set ritual does is, especially when crafted correctly, it grounds us in what we're going to do, and it gets us in the coveted zone. Okay? You see it with athletes on TV all the time, right? Whether you're watching skiing or golf or baseball or whatever, or maybe sports isn't your thing, even if you're watching a piano recital or whatever. Before the performer starts, okay, they do a couple little things that you might notice or see, right? Baseball, golf, those are great, very visible things that you see, people who swing things, people who swing clubs or bats or whatever. You really see them do the same couple motions before they start every time. And that is a physical reminder. It is grounding, but it's a physical reminder for the head to get in the game, right? It's the way that they're dialing in. And I can't help, I'm talking with my hands to absolutely no one right now, but I'm literally sort of dialing it in. And to me, when I do that, it really feels like shutting everything else out and dialing into my present moment. Okay. So it's really, 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 really times 100 important that your rituals kind of narrow as you go. So what I mean by that is, if let's do just from crate to gate. So let's say you're going to go get your dog out of the crate. There's probably a whole bunch of stimuli that's around you. If you're doing agility, you're going to the practice jump. If you're doing obedience, maybe there's a little warm-up area or something, and you're kind of navigating maybe through a crowd or trying to, get what you want done, but then also navigate, and maybe someone's trying to talk to you, whatever. But as you get closer, as there's 3 dogs ahead of you, 2 dogs ahead of you, 1 dog ahead of you, by then you should be really narrowing your focus. You're hopefully not talking to anybody, anymore. It's just you and your dog. Maybe you're doing little warm-up things, whether they're focus things or calming things or energizing things, depending on your dog, and you should know which one you need, you're getting more and more focused in, which means the distractions and the chaos is falling away. Okay? If when you go in the ring, you are still easily distracted, or you are one of those people who is talking to other people like right up until the point you go into the ring, and you're like, yeah, I'm connected to my dog, it might be a way that you are getting rid of your nerves and distracting yourself from your nerves. But ideally, you want you want that focus so that something could catch on fire in the parking lot and everybody else is yelling and screaming and like, oh my God, fire in the parking lot. And all you're thinking of like, all right, let's go. We're ready. Let's walk into the ring. You would have to be like slapped out of it basically to realize that like the judge has stopped the ring, right? You would be surprised at that moment that has happened. Okay. That's the kind of focus we want into the ring. So when we build that pre-performance routine, which is what it is, we want something that is intentional, certainly repeatable, and obviously very personalized. Okay. I have shared in pretty much every time I open my mouth on this subject, I have shared all the bits and pieces of my pre-run routine, which specifically for agility, I think it happens more often because statistically speaking, there are more agility runs in my life. But when I think about that routine, it starts with getting my dog out of the crate and warming him up. And I might encounter some people along the way. And then I'm doing like spins and whatever. And I may look out in the ring and watch somebody for something, but I'm looking back at my dog and I'm trying to focus on my dog. And, I'm saying things to them. And if someone were to try to get my attention in that moment, it would be difficult, right? Because it is me and my dog. And that's really what we want. Because in that moment, I am flipping the switch to being like, nope, it's just me and my dog. So what you might need is to come up with a mantra or something that you say or do. Physical tends to be really much stronger for us because it is kind of distracting because it involves more of our senses, right? We have to move. We have to maybe interact with our dogs, right? And so maybe something we say to our dogs, or maybe I always say something to my dogs and high five them. So I'm like literally touching them and looking at them and saying something and bending over. Like there's a lot involved in that very simple gesture. But it helps me move from, all of this whole ritual. What it should do is help you move from life mode or casual spectator mode into competition mode. Okay. That's what we're going for. How do we get you repeatedly and intentionally and in a very personalized way, get you into competition mode. Okay. So here are a few steps. First of all, go inventory, and maybe for the 17th time, because you're tired of hearing about it from me, but write down if you have to, like all your pre-run rituals. Maybe this is a good reminder that, it's time to refresh some. And if you've done this with me before, feel free to cut corners and call it morning routine at house. Okay. Because if that hasn't changed, then fantastic. I trust you. You're an adult. Like you'll do the right thing. Okay. But then write it all down. Okay. What I think is really interesting is when we write it all down and we write down the things that we're doing, I also want you to write down the things that you started to do. Like maybe write down what you did on a given Saturday, because there may be something in there you didn't mean to do. Or maybe you forgot something and you had to go back, or you had the wrong leash or the wrong whatever, right? Because the second thing I want you to do is I want you to circle or mark or somehow denote of all of these things that you do, which things are calming, which things are distracting, and which things are neutral. Right? Which things calming, like grounding, like this is really good for you, or this is neutral, or this is distracting. Because I will say that sometimes getting my dog out of the crate, depending on what's going on around me, can be very distracting because suddenly there's another dog there, or I have to manage my dog, or, I've got a big dog and a little dog person walks by and be like, that dog's going to eat you, or whatever, might happen, just whatever. Is that a distracting? So honestly, getting my dog out of the crate is very distracting, really. Like, it's a focused thing on my part, but there's a lot involved in getting my dog out of the crate. Is the path clear? Can I let her just fly out of the crate? Do I have to wait, manage? Are there dogs around me? Is it a tight crating space? Is it da-da-da? I mean, there's a lot that we don't really realize we're thinking about in just getting our dog out of the crate. Now, if my dog's in the car, where I prefer them to be, that is a much different experience, which is why crating in the car for me is calming. Okay. It can still be a little distracting depending on what's going on. So getting your dog just out of the crate could be a distracting thing. It doesn't mean it's bad. You're obviously still going to get your dog out of the crate. Okay. But you're building an awareness around this is the part that isn't really making me feel calm. Okay. Now, neutral things, I actually want you to take a look at, because is neutral do you mean it as meh, doesn't bother me one way or the other, it's fine, it's just a neutral, like potting my dog? Or is it neutral in that, you know what, I've been going through the motions, I really need to pay attention to this one part of it because I'm not doing a good job? Okay. Speaking of potting my dog, right, most of us would say that's kind of a neutral thing. For Moxie, that became a very distracting thing, to the point that I changed our ritual to accommodate her potty habits. She does not want to potty right before she runs. She's too focused on going into the ring and into the building. And what I allowed her to do then is grab my tug leash and have her drag me into the building in a good positive, I'm not getting in anyone else's way, but and I rev her up. I'm like, oh, where are you taking me? Oh my God, where are you taking me? Where are we going? Are we going fast? Are you excited? I let that be a thing. Because before, I was the person standing out there going, potty, hurry up and potty. Why haven't you pottied? Hurry up and potty. Why do I want to start our run with an argument? Okay? That didn't work for us. That became distracting. It became whatever the opposite of grounding is. It was just an irritant. It just was a whole irritant for both of us. She was probably mad at me. I was mad at her. Why are we starting this way? Right? So just even the neutral things, I want you to have a think about. Are they providing value, or really they just need to happen? Potting is nothing to me. Why are you telling me this stupid story, lady? It's fine. It means nothing. Fantastic. You're in a better place than I am. Okay. All right. And then step 3, rebuild your ritual. Okay. Think about it though in a few different zones or categories or whatever. What helps you physically settle? Do you need to stretch? Do you need to shoulder roll? Do you just need to posture shift? Stand up straight? What helps your body physically get into a mode of performance, right? Or breathing. That's another zone. Is there a simple pattern, a breathing pattern, right? In for 2, hold for 2, out for 1, that can help you kind of ground. Okay. Or in your brain. What's your cue word? What gets you into the mode of thinking about this? What gets you into settling and focus? How are you using your brain to get focused, right? So how are you using your body to get focused? How are you using your breath to get focused? And how are you using your brain to get focused? Okay, because at the end of your ritual, right? Your ritual, might begin in the morning when you open your eyes, but it ends on the line. It ends when you walk into the ring. Okay? So by the time you get to the end of your ritual, you should be focused in a mindset to compete. Nothing else matters. All the distractions have fallen away and you are ready to go. So along the way, you may need a body cue, a breath cue, a brain cue, habits, okay, that serve you, that aren't reactive habits, right? That aren't just reacting to whatever's going on in your environment. Okay? So I know you've got a ritual already, okay? But I'm also not apologizing for this, okay? I want you to go back through it through this lens and ask yourself, how is your ritual making you more focused? Or is it making you more chaotic? Is it distracting? ask yourself these questions and tweak it. Tweak your ritual. Come up with a ritual that does you good, okay? That gets you in a mood so that when you walk into that ring or stand on the line or take the leash off or whatever it is, you are present and ready to compete. Okay? All right, more next week.